Michael meeting Dave and making that deal with him is one of the most important parts of GTA 5's story. But what if that deal was never made? How would the story of GTA 5 look in that case? Well, we're here to find out. Michael and the crew would plan a robbery on the cash depot in Ludendorff, North Yankton. However, Lester would still not be with them on this job because, like Michael mentioned in the original, Lester was against doing that job entirely.
Yeah, and Lester told us not to do that job, but we did it anyway.
And since Michael never made the deal with the FIB, just to change things up a bit, the job itself would go differently. Unlike in the original, there would be no casualties, the cops would have likely never been called, and their faces would never be known. And one of the biggest changes is that Brad would still be alive. And with yet another successful job behind them, the most wanted heist crew of America would lay low as usual, and repeat the cycle. And their robbing spree would continue for the next few years. But remember how in the original Trevor mentioned that there were a lot of tensions between Brad and Michael?
So little Trevor made a new friend called Brad, and he was thinking about cutting Mike off when it all went to shit, and Mike got killed and Brad went to jail.
Well, that would reach its breaking point, and the two would get into a heated argument right after another successful job. This would actually be the final straw for Michael, as he realizes that not only is he sick of the crime life, but he also needs to turn a new page in his life. If not for himself, then at least for the good and security of his family. And unlike the original where Trevor was mad at Michael for what he did, in this one he understood Michael's perspective as he now has a family to take care of and it's not just him on the line. And with that said, the three friends would say their goodbyes and the Townley family would move to Los Santos. And just like in the original, they would take a different last name, thanks to Lester's connections, ensuring that Michael's past life would never catch up to him, or so he thought. After Michael's departure from the crew, Lester would still do a few jobs with Brad and Trevor. But without Michael around as the leader, Lester would soon leave as well, since Brad and Trevor became more and more sloppy and unhinged when it comes to the execution of the jobs themselves, almost getting Lester arrested in the process. But as a last-minute decision, Lester decides to relocate to Los Santos just like Michael, and with enough money to live a very comfortable life as well as a new identity, Lester would also seemingly be done with the criminal lifestyle. And as for Trevor and Brad, they would likely get caught eventually and would spend the rest of their life behind bars. And as for the events after the prologue, I believe that everything would stay the same until after the jewel store heist. But remember, in this reality, Michael never made the deal with the feds, so the two would never actually have to do their dirty work. And because Trevor is not in the picture, neither the Merryweather heist or the Polito score would ever happen, and of course, they would never have to rob the FIB building. I do still think that the big score would happen, only without Trevor. It would likely have to be done a little bit differently, but I think Michael would still be on board, since, by the way he described it in the original, that was likely his dream for a long time. I do think that Solomon Richards and Devin Weston would still be a part of the story, but I really don't know how they would be introduced, maybe through Lester, but let me know if you have any thoughts on that. How would they be introduced into the story? Again, my thoughts are sort of Lester and his connections, but I really don't know what to make of this. Anyway, moving on. In this case, Michael and Frank would only do two major robberies together. I mean, maybe they would do the Polito score heist if they run out of money at some point mid-game. However, the ending of the game would be very different since the triads would never be a problem and neither would Steve Haynes, meaning that they would only have to take care of Stretch as well as Devin. Now, why are these two still antagonists? Let me backtrack a bit. So Michael would, if he still ended up working with Solomon Richards, Michael would still get involved with Devin West, which would cause Molly to die, and then would cause a whole domino effect, which would eventually lead to the two being forced to kill Devin West. And if you want to take a quick look at Stretch, well, he would still try to rip off Lamar, try to have him set up by the Ballas, because if you remember, the stuff that happened in Grove Street during the Hood Safari mission, Stretch tried to set him up, essentially get him robbed and mugged, likely killed as well. So Franklin would still have to save Lamar in the Grove Street situation, and he would also have to save him when he got kidnapped by the Ballas. So that is the reason that Stretch would be one of the two antagonists that would be killed at the end of the game. After this, I think Michael would still go on to be a movie producer, and Franklin would likely still do his own thing, which would of course put him in the situation that he is in the online contract DLC. And as for Lester, I think he still would do the Diamond Casino heist and the Doomsday heist with our GT Online character, if not for the money, then for the pure excitement of pulling off a heist. That's pretty much it. That's it for this little what if GTA 5 video. Do you want to see more of these? And if you have any suggestions on another story that I could develop, leave them in the comments and I would definitely consider making them. Also, leave a like on this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel as it helps out a lot. Until the next video or stream, thank you so much for watching and bye bye.